All right, in a year of scary stories, literally almost every day, this was one of the most chilling stories I woke up to the other day. I read the headline and I almost froze in my tracks because to combine this capability with this agency, this rogue agency, I mean, there's no other word for it. It's really scary. So let's take a look at this article. ICE to get new technology from Newsweek to track illegal migrants. Okay, good. Well, they're just going after the migrants. How does that affect me, right? This doesn't affect me. Immigration and Customs Enforcement is reportedly buying millions of dollars worth of new surveillance tools as the administration pushes forward with its mass deportation policy. Federal records reviewed by Politico show ICE ramping up spending on surveillance technology with more than $300 million slated under the Trump administration for, get this, social media monitoring. That's scary. Facial recognition. That's scary. License plate readers. That's scary. And location tracking services. And that's scary. Put all that together. They can know where everybody is, where they're going, if your patterns of travel have changed, if you're doing anything suspicious, if what you've posted in the past, everything you've ever written on Facebook and Instagram and whatever your social network platforms are, it's all there. Combine all this, the ability to collect this type of information with AI, man, they got everything on you. And they can put together a story, any story they want. This stuff is really scary. And you think it's just going to affect the immigrants, right? Or maybe if you're lucky, you're MAGA, you're thinking well, maybe the Democrats too. And you're okay with that, right? Yeah, all right. All right, now listen. It goes on to say as ICE moves forward with a suite of advanced tracking surveillance technologies aimed at identifying and locating undocumented immigrants, I'm off the hook. I don't have to worry. Civil liberties advocates warn the initiative could trigger a sweeping expansion of domestic surveillance that extends far beyond immigrants, potentially ensnaring U.S. citizens and lawful residents as well. Boy, it could. I guarantee you it will. And if you're part of MAGA, you think you're safe, you're not even safe. And I'm going to tell you why in a few minutes. But let's look at the rest of this. It says the effort, which has drawn sharp criticism from privacy and rights groups, is part of the Trump administration's push to deploy new technology across immigration enforcement, a strategy that critics say weakens privacy guardrails and normalizes powerful surveillance tools for federal agents. You know, the scary part to me is this is going to enable people in our government and in some really bad agencies to learn how to use all this stuff. And when they learn how to use it and see what all it can do, I mean, it's just going to explode, I think, in the evil and the damage that they're going to commit using these tools. These are powerful tools, and they can be used for good or they can be used for bad. And I mean, when a country becomes a surveillance state, the surveillance doesn't go down, it doesn't shrink, it grows over time. What would make it go down? Once they get this power in their hands, why would they ever let go of it? They won't. And I want to talk to MAGA supporters in a minute, but I just want to remind you, I know a lot of you MAGA people, back in the early 2000s, after 9/11, you strongly opposed the Patriot Act. You opposed it on the grounds that you didn't want government surveilling you and knowing all about you. And this was under Bush, under a Republican president. You opposed it, okay? Now, I see a lot of you saying, "Oh, well, this is okay." It's like you think, well, if your man does it, if Trump does it, it's all good, right? It's in good hands. Just keep in mind, he won't always be president. And you don't know who the next guy may be. It may be Don Jr., for all I know. But he may be way worse, and you may not like him as much as you like this president. And you may not trust him as much, and he may be more evil, if that's even possible. All right. Federal contracting records show the Department of Homeland Security has awarded Palantir Technologies more than $139 million for ICE's investigative case management system. This company, man, they're doing a lot of bad stuff. It's a core surveillance and enforcement platform used to track immigration cases. All right. They've had this for a while, but they're ramping everything up and they're combining it with a lot of new stuff like this one. Separate federal records show the DHS awarded Clearview AI a $3.75 million contract beginning in September of this year, 2025, for facial recognition software to support Homeland Security investigations. That doesn't send a chill up your spine? You were worried what might be done under the Patriot Act, and this doesn't bother you? Come on, think about it. This is the Patriot Act on steroids, plus with a very lawless government at the nation's helm. So you got to think about that too, actually. Since 1974, the Privacy Act has barred the federal government from creating a centralized database of Americans' information to prevent surveillance and misuse. Okay? If they don't have it, if they don't even have it in a database, then they can't misuse it even if they want to. That's why they have a law that prevents the government from creating a centralized database. ICE, however, this rogue agency in our government, has signed broad data sharing agreements with agencies including the Social Security Administration, the IRS, and the Department of Health and Human Services. The agency cites executive orders from Trump on immigration enforcement and fraud prevention to justify access. This is really bad stuff. This is scary stuff. Once the government gets up and running and doing this stuff, you really think it's going to stop with immigrants? Do you think these tools in the hands of the most thin-skinned, vindictive president we've ever had, do you really think he's going to stop at immigrants? Come on. I mean, let's just give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. He may not intend to go beyond immigrants today, but believe me, once he learns what can be done with this stuff, the next person, well, I'll just say this, it ain't going to be an immigrant, okay? It ain't going to be an immigrant. And look, okay, let's say, I know a lot of you, all the bad things that happen, you say, well, it's not really Trump's fault. Okay, let's say it's Stephen Miller. Let's say Stephen Miller gets the inside scoop on how all this stuff works. And he goes to Trump and he whispers in his ear, he goes, hey, you know what? You know that guy that was really annoying you? We can get him. I got some information on him. You want to read it? And then next thing you know, this guy's in jail and he can't get out. And don't think they'll never come after you if you're MAGA. Now, let me talk to the MAGA people. If you're MAGA and you're a big supporter of this president and this administration, don't think they'll never come after you or people like you. I mean, maybe not you individually, but as a group, people who hold your beliefs and have supported what you've supported. Don't think that just because you've been a loyal supporter that you're going to be immune. You're not, because surely you've noticed how this movement eats its own. You may think surveillance is fine because it'll be used against the Democrats, and I'm okay with that, right? But surveillance doesn't target parties. It targets deviations. What do I mean by that? Okay, in a movement built around one man who constantly changes his mind, deviation becomes unavoidable. By deviation, I mean disagreement. I mean anything that might appear to indicate disloyalty. Okay? Imagine with AI and all the social media posts ever made, and AI can crunch through all that information, and you go in and you just say, AI, search on people who have shown some kind of disloyalty to the president. So AI goes in and it finds out, oh, look at this. A few years ago, Joe said that he doesn't think any money should ever be spent on foreign military actions, on military action in other countries. He thinks it's a waste of money. And now the president's spending lots of money on foreign military actions. So this guy could be disloyal because he disagrees with the president. You see? That's how it can work. In a high-tech surveillance state, loyalty today doesn't protect you tomorrow because agreement today becomes evidence of disloyalty later. You know why? Because you agree with the president on something today, and later he changes his mind. Then they go back and find out, oh, look, he disagrees with the president. 2 years ago, he said this. That's now going against what the president believes. Your past speech is never forgotten. That's the big problem with all of this. Surveillance turns yesterday's loyalty into today's liability. And especially when you have a president like the one we have, a capricious leader who's always changing his mind. If you agreed with him a year ago on something, he changed his mind about it today, then suddenly your position from a year ago is now in opposition to his position today. That's what I was just trying to explain. High-tech surveillance won't ultimately be used only against immigrants or Democrats. Ultimately and historically, this kind of surveillance, which in this case is surveillance on steroids, it will become a betrayal machine. It will become a betrayal machine because you know why? Because it will never forget anything you've ever said or thought. And it will be able to bring it up instantly and hand it over to the authorities without a warrant and with no due process protections. Your past speech will never expire. Surveillance states always start off with the excuse, with the express goal that it's doing what it's doing to protect the public from enemies. But historically, they almost always end up protecting the regime, not the public, the regime, by surveilling its friends to see who among that group of supposed friends might be turning on them. So if you're on the MAGA side and you think, well, I'm safe because I'm in with the in group, no, you're going to be more at risk than anybody because what leaders like this, what authoritarian leaders care about most, is who in their group might turn on them. They know who in the other groups turning on them because it's everybody. But they need to know who in their own group. So look, this is the kind of thing that ultimately affects everybody unless it's stopped. In other words, there's no way this is just going to be used against undocumented immigrants who have committed crimes. No way. That's a joke. If you believe that, you're very, very naive. Ultimately, it can literally be used on all of us. And that's why we all need to stand against it, no matter what side of the political aisle you're on. If you're a liberal, I know you'll stand against it. If you're a lifelong former conservative like myself, I know you'll stand against it. And if you're MAGA, you must absolutely stand against it because you're in its sights too. Everybody is. And since you're on the inside, it can actually come against you faster than you can remember which side you were on yesterday. This stuff is really bad stuff, and we got to all stand against it. If you're MAGA, you can do the most to stand up against this. You can do more to stand up against it than a lot of us who aren't, because a lot of us don't live in districts where we have Republican representatives, and our Democrat representatives are going to stand against it. So, we'll call and support them and encourage them to do the right thing. But the people who are in Republican districts who understand, even if you're a big supporter of this president, you got to understand how this is bad stuff. You really got to understand. I mean, Ron DeSantis has taken a huge stand against AI this week. He's adamantly opposed to AI. So there are dangers there, especially in government's hands. You know that if you're a lifelong conservative, you know that you don't want this in government's hands. You got to know that. Call your Republican representatives, send them emails, fill out their contact forms on their websites. Just bombard them with letters and messages and let them know you don't agree with this. You don't want anything to do with it. All right, that can really help them to do something about it and to try to slow this down. All right, that's the best we got. Republicans in Republican districts complaining to their Republican representatives. That's the best way we can stop and slow a lot of this stuff down. All right. All right. Well, that's it for me. That's what was on my chest, what I had to get off my chest. I appreciate you watching, and if you liked what you heard, click subscribe. I'd love to have you on board, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.